So today we are going to continue reading Counting by 7's, our class read aloud. And today we are going to be doing active reading in our ELA notebook for Chapter 3, Part 2. And I'm going to model some of that for you here. And for our active reading today, we are actually going to really just be focusing on one specific question. And I'm gonna write that here for you to be thinking about as we read today. What details stick out to you, and why? What I might suggest that you guys do as we read today is make a T-chart here. And while we read, you can add your details here in a bulleted list. And then after we're done reading this selection today, you could actually answer the questions about those specific details on the other side of the T-chart. That way you're not answering the why question here while you're trying to listen to the rest of the story. So here we go. Let's pick up where we left off with Counting by 7's, Chapter 3, Part 2. My parents got special permission from the district to move me there to the school that we talked about earlier in the last time we read. My mom and dad believed that I'd never found a teacher who truly understood me. I think the more accurate thing to say was I'd never understood any of my teachers, and there's a really big difference. Some of you might be able to relate to that. Right before school began in the fall, the anticipation I felt was like waiting for my Amorphophallus penophilus to bloom. You're going to have to excuse me with some of these big words. This chica is smart. I went through a period of obsessively cultivating rare corpse flowers and my initial attraction to their strange-looking blossom. The deep purplish red petals resemble sheets of velvet fabric that could line a casket, and the long, aggressive, yellowy stigma jutting from their center is like a jaundiced old man's finger. That's a nice visual. But the plant's reputation came from its smell, because when the bloom opens, it's like having a dead body pop up from the soil. The stink is simply indescribably disgusting. I mean, it really takes some adjustment. No animal wants to get close, much less munch on the reeking, exotic, wine-colored blossom. It's almost like reverse perfume. I believed that going to middle school would be life-changing. I saw myself as the rare plant prepared to unfurl my hidden layers, but I truly hoped that I wouldn't stink up the place. I tried to fit in. I researched teenagers, which was interesting because I was so close to becoming one. I read about teenage driving, teenage runaways, and teenage dropout rates, and it was all a shocker. But none of the research provided much enlightenment on my number one area of interest, teen friendship. If the media is to be believed, teenagers are too busy breaking laws and trying to do terrible things to themselves and the people around them to form any bonds of attachment, unless, of course, these bonds produce a teenage pregnancy. The literature had a lot of information on that. Right before I started middle school, I had a physical. The exam went much better than expected because for the first time I had an actual medical issue. I had been waiting 12 long years for this to happen. I needed glasses. Yes, the level of correction was slight, and yes, it could have been brought on my part by eye strain, which apparently I focused too long on something right in front of me, like a book or a computer screen, and I don't look away into the distance and refocus enough. So I congratulated myself on this achievement, because I had been hoping for some form of myopia, which I now had. After the exam, we went to the ophthalmologist and I picked out my glasses. I was drawn to old frames that looked like what Gandhi wore. They were round, wire-rimmed, and very old school, according to the woman who deals with that part of the process. They were perfect, I thought, because I was going forward into the brave new world in peace, just like Gandhi, right? A week before the first day of class, I made another big decision. We were having breakfast, and I swallowed a large bite of my healthy start meal, which consisted of beet greens topped with flaxseed, both homegrown, of course, and then I said, I have figured out what I want to wear to my first day at Sequoia. My father was at the sink, sneaking a bit of donut. I did my best to keep junk food away from these people, but they covered up a lot of their eating habits. My dad quickly swallowed a piece of his fudge puppy and asked, "And what would that be?" I was pleased. "I will be wearing my gardening outfit." Dad must have taken too large of a bite because it sounded like the fudge donut was caught in his throat. "Are you sure about that?" he managed to say. Of course I was sure, but I stayed low-key. "Yes, I won't put on the binoculars around my neck if that's what you're concerned about." My mom, who up until this point was unloading the dishwasher, turned around. I could see her face and she looked pained, like maybe she had just put away a whole load of dirty dishes, which is something that happened once before. Her face smoothed out, and she said, "What an interesting idea, honey. But I'm wondering, will people make the connection? Maybe it's best to wear a brighter color, something red. You love red." I didn't get it. The first day of middle school was a chance to make a new introduction, and I needed to convey to the group a sense of my identity while keeping a few of the basic elements of my character under wraps. I couldn't stop myself from explaining, "I am making a statement about my commitment to the natural world," and I saw them exchange quick looks. My dad had fudge frosting in his front teeth, but I wasn't going to point this out, especially after he said, "Of course, you are so right." I looked down at my breakfast bowl and began counting the flax seeds, multiplying by 7. So this is what she did in her spare time, just started multiplying by 7. It's my escape technique. The next afternoon, a Teen Vogue magazine appeared on my bed, and all of these publications at that time of year centered on going back to school. On the cover, a teenage girl with hair the color of a banana had the widest smile I had ever seen, and the headline read, "Does your outfit say what you want it to?" No one took responsibility for putting it there. We're going to stop there today. What details of that excerpt stick out to you and why? What do you think that Teen Vogue thing was that was suddenly on her bed? What do you think that meant to do for her? Spend some time jotting down details that stick out to you and why.